Thank you, Nani, very much for having me. It's my birth name. I was born in Bossier City, Louisiana. Uh, my father was a pilot in the Air Force, so I think we moved out of there within a few months because there used to be an Air Force base there, may still be there, and from there we went to Europe, still tied to the Air Force. And currently, I live in the San Diego area of Southern California. Yeah, my brother was a year younger and or a year older, and he was born in Lubbock, Texas. So in the military, they move around a lot. So I'm divorced. Yes. It's not as much as it used to be, but hey, it's okay. Right at this point in my life, I'm fine. I have no desire to get remarried or anything like that. My focus is on other things. So we had two, one boy and one girl. They're both in their 40s now and have children of their own. Um, I like them. They're tied up in their own lives right now. They don't seem to have much time for me to deal with me, and that's okay. I mean, I'm happily introverted, and I don't need a lot of people hanging around me, which is the opposite of my ex-wife, who's extremely extroverted, she's in a large group of people. She's at the top of the moon. Me, I get nervous. So yes, both my son and daughter have two children. My son has a son, or a boy and a girl, and my daughter has two girls. And they're in the 9 to 11 range, all four of them. At this point, I don't think either one would take me in. It is what it is. They're have their own lives and their own things, and no, it doesn't. I don't feel bad about it. When I was growing up, my mother only liked cats. So we had cats. Cats are a little bit different. Since I've been was married, we've had dogs, and I have my dog sitting here right next to me on the couch. He wants to sit on my lap, but you wouldn't be able to see me on the camera anymore. But oh, I love my dog. She's very, very special, and I do keep her food in the refrigerator. Are you, buddy? Oh, I can move the key. Oh, she won't raise her head. Let me get her over here the hard way. There she is. Kiva, don't be such a. This is a Kiva. I've had her for about 2.5 years, and well, it's getting close to 3 years now, and she's just the most wonderful thing in the world. Well, I think the last time she was on camera, she needed a haircut badly, and she's had it since then. But she does shed quite a bit, but that's okay. It doesn't bother me. She's a terrier mix of some kind. I mean, I've seen a lot of blonde terriers like her, but I haven't found a particular subbreed of terrier for that. So the vet who first gave her admitted or take took care of her called her just a terrier mix. So what that exactly means, I don't know. I mean, I used to be a very different person. A long time when I was working, I worked for a number of years for a French company and did a lot of traveling in Europe and South America and found all kinds of interesting things. But at this point in my life, I'm very, very basic. I tend to have a chicken quesadilla in the morning, and I'll have some black beans with chicken and cheese in the evening, little pico de gallo, a little rajitas in there to give it flavor. And that's about it. I mean, very, very simple. Uh, it's always been green. I don't know, my eyes are hazel, but that's basically green with a little brown around the edge of the pupil. But so that's why I'm wearing green today because that's why. For watching, it would be professional football. At this point, I mean, I used to watch a lot of TV. Back in the days when they had good sitcoms and those things, and those kind of variety shows, I love that. Now, the one I watch the most is Gutfeld on Fox News, which is kind of like a late night comedy show where he throws in some real stuff too. But for me, anything that makes me laugh, makes me feel good, I'm happy. Favorite actor? That's tough. It's probably Bill Murray. Well, when I was working, like I say, traveling all over the place, there was a lot of food. Uh, I think I probably lost at least 70 pounds since then. And I mean, I take my dog for 4 or 5 walks every day so she can get her exercise. And that's good for me too. And that's basically about it. I have some barbells I use to try to keep myself a little stronger because I know it gets harder the older you get. And that's about it. That's, I mean, two things I would suppose, uh, I do pray a lot. I find that very helpful. Um, and like I was saying, watching TV shows that either I remember them well, like last night I rewatched the Star Trek The Voyage Home episode, which I just love that, and or anything that's funny. It seems to be a dearth of funny anymore. That's why I have probably 60 or 70 DVDs here that I watch more often than I watch television. Well, that's another thing that's changed with me over time. I don't listen to a whole lot of music. Uh, I mean, I was really big into the 70s rock back in those days when I was a kid. And have a whole bunch of albums somewhere. I don't even know where they are, but I have a whole bunch. But anymore, I don't even listen to music that much. Never much of a dancer. I mean, I remember when Aida and I would take cruises and they would always have dancing there. She made me look good because she's a phenomenal dancer. And I'm just kind of a prop. And that's okay for me. I've just never been the dancing kind, even though I do remember doing the Macarena quite a bit back in the day. It's hard to say. I think I've had a lot of friends over the years at work and in personal life, and I think they think I would like to think they think I'm a good person and like to have a good time and hang out, and that's pretty much it. Not a whole lot. The one small thing. I mean, right now I live in an apartment, and it's on the first floor. And I don't care about anybody else's life. I mean, I'm not interested in what they're doing. I mean, they have their life, I have mine. And just the other day, there were like 3 or 4 people walking by, and they were all looking in the window, like, why would you care? It's like, I don't know what they were expecting, but when I walk by somebody else's window, I never look in because that's whatever they're doing. I'm not here to judge them or anybody else. So, when I first moved here, yeah, the guy who was living upstairs, he liked to play his music really loud, but he's been gone for a number of years. And right now, I'm not even sure anybody lives upstairs. I mean, what happens around here, and I don't know why. Well, there's another apartment in the next building with 2 women living there. And every now and then, a bunch of guys with kids will come over and stay in the one upstairs. I think they were married to these ladies or what. I don't know the circumstance, but when they come, I can hear because little kids are dropping stuff on the floor and making lots of noise, but doesn't happen that often anymore. So I have no idea what's going on up there. But it doesn't, I mean, it's most of the time there's no sound at all. Uh, no. I mean, I still have a lot of clutter I have to get rid of. And, but the way my brain works, I'm constantly thinking of other things. And so I don't necessarily focus on it. When I focus on getting rid of stuff, I do pretty good. Too often I go, maybe later. Just don't have the compunction or the desire just to jump up and start putting everything away and getting rid of stuff. It's just harder for me. That's a good question. I don't, I hope not. Well, my wife has some friends who say bad things about her to her face and things like which is, I find hard to believe because she's very sweet. But some people just, and we have, in fact, one of her best friends, her husband used to work in the firefighting industry. He wasn't a firefighter. I don't know what he did. But when I started with a company a number of years ago, before I started, he asked, "Oh, by the way, what company are you going to go to work for?" And I mentioned the name. That next day, the fire marshal came to that building to check it out. They have nothing. They had no problems. I mean, they're a very well-run company, but just the fact that the day after he asked me, and I tell him, he was in that industry, that the fire marshal comes by, that's not a coincidence. One of these guys who just likes to, stir up everybody's pot. Online, uh, not that I can recall. Normally if I get something in email or see something and it's just kind of nasty, I just ignore it because, there's nothing I can do about their beliefs. If they're just a bad person, I don't even want to deal with it. So, uh, well, Facebook, because there I can see how my grandkids are doing and that, because like my son, he lives in New York, so we don't get to see them very often. Um, Twitter is great for the tweet support team that I'm part of, and so that's very, very good for that. But I don't spend a lot of time on any social media sites, honestly. Coke. Generally, I drink only Diet Coke. It's just a habit I started a long time ago. That's a good question. Not that many. Like I say, when I'm looking on social media, I'm primarily finding out about my grandkids. Um, Outside of that, I mean, I do the tweet support team, obviously, but I don't spend a lot of time on social media. I mean, I will, I mean, there's a number of people who post things on X, Twitter, that I follow, and if they have something new there, I'll look at it, but it's just a matter of a few seconds. Well, since Wonder Woman was just a cartoon, I have to say Nonnie Jules. Well, an invisible jet would be nice, but I wish I had all the stuff off the top of my head. That was a book by uh, Karen Black, I believe, the One Simple Act of Violence. I think that was the name of it. It's a fairly short story, but I thought that was one of the best things I'd read. And I'd read some of her other stuff, which was good. Uh, yes. Well, for me, when I read a book, it's about how it makes me feel. And that's why many of my reviews, I mean, I've seen some other reviews by members that are really long, like going through every detail of the plot, that type of thing. I don't do that. For me, a story is a story, and the end is how you feel about it. What does it change you? Does it make you feel good, bad, whatever? And that's what I focus on. And if a story keeps my interest and I like the way it turns out, and then I like it a lot. If it has a whole bunch of little details off to the side that make you lose track of what's going on, then I don't like it as much. Well, like I say, I mean, I think we always have to tell the truth. Um, and I've had some bad reviews in the days that were true, and I learned from it. But no, I don't gloss over anything. I had a woman from Spain sent me her copy of her book that she was trying to convert into English, and she had the worst translator in the history of the universe because I could hardly even understand what it was saying because the translation from Spanish was so bad. And so I emailed her back saying, this has got problems because the translation isn't any good. It doesn't even make sense. And I don't know whatever happened to that story, whether she had it rewritten or only left it in Spain. I have no idea. But got to know the truth. If you've written something that is bad, then it's very important for especially the author to know about it so they can do something about it. Probably all my life. As far as publishing, it's probably started around 2012, but I was writing stories when I was a little boy. When I was in high school, I had a year where I wrote a ton of tortured poetry and tortuous poetry because the way it turned out. I mean, when you're 17 and your worldview and the way you think and write is different from you are when you're a little bit older, or a lot older in this case. Yes, as I mentioned, there's one of my books where the editor I had at the time obviously didn't do it, but one of the names of one of the main characters changed in the middle of the book. And I saw that in a review and I went, oh boy. So I went back and I changed it all to make it match. So yeah, if something is really bad, you made a really big boo-boo, a mistake, you have to fix it. And if people won't tell you that, then you may never know. Because if a story you wrote 10 years ago, suddenly you're going to say, I don't even remember. So it was 26 or 27. I don't know. I mean, my most current one is still out for editing and cover design. So, and I have a number of others I've been working on. I get into a story and I start it and everything's going great. And sometimes I get distracted or I get this idea to go in a totally different tangent. And then after a few dozen pages, you go, it doesn't make any sense at all. And I go back and start whacking things out. And it's a process. Uh, I would have to say my favorite is still after all these years is The Old House, which is kind of a synopsis of the way I look at the world. Because it's a story of a man who is the reincarnation of his own great grandfather, and they have a history that goes back to the beginning of time. And I like that idea. In fact, the subtitle for that book is An Everlasting Love Story. And I do believe in rebirth and life again, and that we never really disappear. And this traces that family back to biblical times. Well, like I say, there are different types. I mean, The Old House is a one-off. I have a number of books that are in series. I mean, for people who are interested in dystopian, I have the Revolution series, which is 4 books, and but that's completely different type of story. In fact, all my stories from one to the next are pretty much totally different. And it's one of the things I like, exploring something new. You get a little idea, and that idea grows and grows and grows and becomes its own thing in its own right. Uh, all of them are on Amazon. A number of them are on, I think I used to work with this Smashwords, but now that's being taken over by Draft to Digital. Some of the older books are there, and I'm not sure how I'm going to go forward with that, but at least Amazon will always have all of them. Okay, well, I'll start once again with The Old House. It's a story of a man, like I say, who was the reincarnation of his great grandfather, and his great grandfather's ghost still lives in the building, this old house. But they say it's a story that they have danger lurking all around them at the point where the story starts. And that the ultimate goal is to go back in time to fix the original sin that that family committed thousands of years ago in order to end the problems they're having today. There's also a story of life after life, the same people coming back together again, being together for another lifetime. And, you know, and that's why I love that story. Another of my favorites is The Reluctant Prophet. This one's been out a while. Uh, I wrote a modern prophet series this was part of, but this one was very different. The story of a guy who had some precognition abilities, didn't even know. And he also runs into people from the future who've come back to take him with them to the future because somehow he did some wonderful things in our time and will continue doing them into the future. It's pretty crazy. I mean, my wife is Mexican, so a large part of the book takes place in Mexico when the hero is kidnapped by a cartel because they think he can foretell the future of what's going to happen to their business. And then there's foreign agents from North Korea trying to come and get him because the dear leader wants his precognition abilities and that type of thing. So it was pretty exciting. I like that story a lot. Uh, the book currently entitled Land of Lost Souls is being edited, and I have a cover artist thinking up ideas for a cover. Um, I have two or three others that I started, and as I mentioned before, sometimes I get caught up in the wrong track. I have to go back through and whack stuff off and start rebuilding it again. And the one I'm working on now is tentatively called Imprimis, about robots taking over the galaxy and eliminating all humanity and how people have to fight back. I'm not even sure how it's going to end yet, but that's the idea of that story. And I have another one, don't even remember the title, but a young boy who was kidnapped from his family and then raised in a monastery. It's been a while since I've even been into that one, so I have to get back. But he develops all these amazing talents in order to help him survive. And there's another that I'm also working on of these people who are traveling on a spacecraft and within the our solar system, and they get attacked, and then beings from other planets show up to help. So it's kind of another space adventure. Yeah, my blog is on www.karljmorgan.com, and I also have pages there for each of the books that I've written. Well, it has to be RRBC. You guys have been absolutely wonderful to me and supportive, and that's what you need when you're out here on your own. I mean, each of us basically living our own little worlds, but we all get together as a team, and that helps a lot. I mean, to me, it gets better all the time. Uh, eh, and that's about all you can hope for. I mean, I always look for new books out by our authors to review. I mean, I see a lot of books, but in fact, I get a lot of them, not from our authors, but from others, and I just kind of set them aside. The only book I don't set aside is my Bible that I read every week. So it's amazing. Feels very, very good. I mean, I've tried to do my best. That's all any of us can do is try to do our best. And I appreciate the honor very, very much. And we have a lot of good company in that group. So thank you very much for listening to me and hearing my tales. I hope you all have just an amazing day, and God bless you.